This is the Gorge. This is a podcast where my friend Sara and I gorge ourselves in overanalyzing a game or game-related topic. This week we are talking about Tales of Berseria for the PS4 and PC.
I already made this joke once and the audio fucked up, but seriously, how about Tales of Berseria?
Yeah, it's weird because you were totally right. We talked about this earlier. You're totally right. It's like it's not the best gameplay and it's not the best story.
Right.
But because the game with the best gameplay has one of the lesser quality stories, and the one with the best story has like the lesser quality gameplay, does second best trump them?
Does it become, because like Berseria is the best overall experience, does that make it the best game? Like, does it make it the best Tales game? Like, I'm gonna go with yes. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say that because, for similar reasons that I think Chrono Trigger is my favorite game of all time, as opposed to one of the Kingdom Hearts series games. Right.
Is because I like the collectiveness of Chrono Trigger more than I like the individual parts that I really like about the Kingdom Hearts series.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I guess I feel that for sure. I kind of, like, every now and then I was taking a shower today and, like, having that conversation in my head while I was getting ready, just like, is it the best game? Do I think it's the best game? I don't know if I think it's the best game. I still think Abyss might be the best game, and then I just keep, like, thinking myself into a circle. So, like, but I'm tentatively saying, like, yeah, definitely Tales of Berseria. Like,
yeah.
Holy shit, right?
Jeez, like, considering our last two, like, major titles were X2 and Zestiria, that this is such, like, a welcome step back into, like, Tales games and why we both love them in the first place.
Right, because Exelia 2 is a tire fire, and, because it just keeps burning and making things smell bad.
Yeah.
And, Zestiria is just, like,
It's not, okay, so...
It's just a big shrug.
We're gonna do this... We're going to do this later on because I'm going to go back to it, and I'm going to repeat this over and over again. I don't think Zestiria is a bad game. I really don't. I don't think that it's a bad game. What I think it is a game that's not designed for me.
Yeah, I think Zestiria got a lot of bad press, and it did, because Waifu Wars, and I do think the writing is really, really weak. I just think it has a lot of just kind of moments where it struggles.
And the problem really with stuff like that is usually when a Tales game has weak writing, then it makes it up by having really good gameplay, like in Vesperia or Exelia. But like the massive shift in gameplay style from the 2D planar, like, what do they call it? Limb system? No, that's Tekken. No, it is limbs.
They actually do call it limbs, but they call all of them that. It's just different iterations of the limbs system.
Yeah, but it's like that line-based 2D fighting game style. That shift from that into the pseudo, like, action, like, fast-paced combat.
Like Kingdom Hearts. Like, it's a switch from, like... It's a switch from, like a fighting game to Kingdom Hearts, but it's somehow more fighting gamey than you don't... The problem with Zestiria, I think, is that you don't get the freedom that you would get in, like, Kingdom Hearts or, like, another sort of action JRPG style. Yeah, and it's the freedom, I think, that is what helps Berseria, especially.
Yeah, because in Berseria you get tons more freedom.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible, and, like, I do have a few nitpicks with the gameplay of Berseria, and I think, honestly, it's probably the game that I've thought about the gameplay of the most, just because it's so close to being perfect.
But it just kind of falls short.
It doesn't quite make it, and there are things that I really like about it, and there are things that I absolutely hate about it. So, first off, like, designing your art system, like, full customization of all of your moves is great.
So good. It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. Because I thought when I first fired the game up, the way Berseria works is as you learn new arts, those button presses are assigned new arts. So, like, in the beginning with Sara, you press X a bunch and he'll attack, and then do, like, a hidden art, or whatever the fuck it's called. I think it's called hidden art. But then, like, those button presses, like, those arts are locked to those button presses. You can't change it. It's not mutable.
Yeah.
So you just have to memorize what everything does. And when I first started Berseria, I'm like, fuck, we're here again. Okay, I'll give it a shot. And then I realized, I can change what arts go in what slot. And it was like, oh my god, the world has just changed. It's like the whole universe is shifted on its side.
Everything opens up again. And it's one of those things where, like, we kind of talked this when we talked about Vesperia, where it's like, Vesperia's the skills and the weapon, like, arts that you get, and the weapon skills, is too much customization at once. And we kind of talked about how, like, having too many options can sometimes be like a hindrance.
Yeah.
Like when you're trying to just wrap your head around everything you can do.
Oh my god.
Berseria made that a lot, like, gave you those options without making it overly complicated by giving you full access to your art menus. Now, what I wish they would have done is given you, like a short, like, clip of what the art looks like.
Yeah.
Because, like, because of the way the game works, movement is very much, like, important, and placement of your character is important. And so when I'm trying to set up a combo, I want to see, like, okay, well, which arts flow best into other arts? Because there are some where Velvet backs up, or she lunges forward, and, like, I want to make sure that, like, if I follow up with an art that, like, leans into an enemy, I don't want to follow it up with one that makes Velvet jump back and then lunge forward again.
Yeah, I understand. And I mean, I guess that's kind of how it's always been with Tales games, though. There's a lot of trial and error and figuring out how your art lineup is supposed to work.
But in other Tales games, you had your basic 4-hit combo or 3-hit combo, and then you could perform your arts, and the arts weren't really designed to maneuver the character around as much as they are in Berseria.
Yeah, for sure. And the like, efficacy of an art set list is not nearly as important in previous Tales titles as it is in Berseria. I mean, like, making sure your combo list works and gets you a stun is the single most important thing in Berseria.
Exactly.
And that's kind of... I like it. I do. I like it because when you're on a roll, I mean, you're really rolling,
Yeah.
It's just like...
Once
you get going, it's like you can't stop. You're getting a soul left and right. And it's just like, you can just keep this fucking chain going. And at one point I was fighting a bonus boss, and I got my 100-hit combo trophy on accident.
Yeah, well, like, because you get, it's a very, very momentum-based.
Yes.
Like, once you get going, you're basically set for the rest of the battle, but if you stumble or you lose your souls at any point, it's an uphill battle to get them back.
Especially in a boss fight.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that I absolutely hate about it. I think the soul system is terrible.
I don't understand what's so wrong with TP,
Yeah, well, not even, I get what they were going for, is that, because it's kind of like a mutation of the attacks in Exilia, where you had, the AC, where you had, like, okay, well, here's your 5, you can do 5 attacks, and then you have to recharge. And, like, that's kind of what souls are, but not quite, because certain arts cost more, and you can always perform arts, but they'll be easily broken if you don't have any souls in stock, and recharging souls takes forever.
And it's a lot of just... There are ways to get souls back quickly, but they don't always work. Like, they work fine on, like, bonus bosses, and they work fine on field enemies. But if you're fighting story bosses, it's another story.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible to recover. Like, if you get knocked down to 1, it's almost impossible to recover.
Yeah, it's an uphill climb. And there are ways, of course. There's the where if you hold guard, you can score yourself another one, stuff like that. But it's just really hard sometimes, and it doesn't feel very intuitive, and it just fucks up your momentum, and you just spend a lot of time getting angry at the game because it's not letting you build that momentum back up. And I don't think I'm bad at this game. I think I'm okay at it. So I think it's a problem with the game.
I mean,
itself.
You beat it.
I beat it. I got a fuck ton of grade out of it too. So I must be decent at it. But I don't know. I mean, I think I'm okay at it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, there are certain bosses that can even just do attacks that immediately knock out a soul. They can just do an attack and then it's over. You can't, even if you block it, it'll break your guard and you'll get knocked out of it. And so, like, that's not fair. That's wholly unfair to the player because you can't recover from that.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's just what it is. Like, it's just bullshit, like, constantly.
Mm-hmm. You're either doing really well or you are controller snappingly frustrated at the enemy.
And there are items that can let you regain souls in battle, but you don't get them until later in the game, and they cost a ton of money. Now,
exactly.
That being said, I was always loaded in this game, so I did always have a handful on me at any time, because, I was fucking rolling in this game. Anything.
Well, the Tales, for another thing, it's really weird. I don't know, did you feel weird at how few, consumables there were in this game?
There are so few consumables in this game, and, it's just really, and I get it. It's because there's no TP, so you can't round out. There's apple gels and pineapple gels are for HP, and orange gels and peach gels are for TP. It might be the other way around. Either way, there's just less consumables, and
they cut out the TP consumables.
Yeah.
And they also cut out the need. I guess it's a good thing they cut out the need to buy a ton of different status ailment items, and it's all just Panacea bottles now.
Yeah.
But, you just feel like your consumable menu just feels so barren now. I'm like, okay, well, I got my 3 HP gels, and my Panacea bottles, and my life bottles, and there's no, magnifying lenses, there's no,
Now, I don't regret the death of the magnifying lens.
Yeah. Me neither.
Yeah.
And I understand, the reason they're all gone is because it's all being streamlined into something way more convenient, but I'm still just like, wow, it's really empty.
Yeah, it's a little, it's definitely different after so many iterations where things were so, there were just so many different...
Well, when you play a lot of JRPGs like we do, you kind of take, a bit of comfort in the familiarity of having just a ton of items in your items menu,
There's safety in it, for sure.
Yeah.
There's safety in having, a shitload of consumable items, because it's kind of you know what to do, It's well, if you're in any kind of shitty situation, there might be a consumable that can save your ass.
Yeah.
But there isn't one. There's no treats and specifics in this game, and that really threw me off. Now, maybe there are, and I just missed them. I don't know. I'm sure somebody will tell me. But there's no
that's
treats
the other
and
thing
specifics.
that that's the other thing that I'm I noticed that, and I'm well, that, I could have gone for, a full party heal item.
Yeah, because
for sure.
There's only the
because this is a game. This is a game where 2/3 of your party are melee strikers.
Yeah, and Magilou and Laphicet, they have heals, but they don't use their full area heals very often. I noticed. Eleanor has a heal, I think. Sometimes in the chaos, I'm like, who the fuck just healed me? I don't know! And Aizen has, of all people, has resurrection. Why? I don't know. It's just really weird. Why?
Well, that's the other... Here's the one thing I noticed, and I'm like, it's a very weird thing. In the story, Laphicet's kind of the token healer. You'll get the scene where you see Laphicet run over and heal someone, right?
Right.
Laphicet knows first aid.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Magilu is the one who learns Healing Circle. Eisen learns Resurrection.
And Eleanor has spot heals too. She's got like single character heals, and you're just kind of like,
so it's like,
I'm getting so many mixed signals.
Yeah, Laphicet's not a very good healer.
I'm getting so many mixed signals. Why is Velvet like, Laphicet, I need you to heal me while I attack Artorias? I'm like, girl, all he has is first aid. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Maybe you should talk to Magilu. She can cast Healing Circle on you and it can stack.
Maybe you should, suck up to her more. I don't know. It's just like there's so many mixed signals in this game.
Because in a Tales game like this, like the later ones, like you don't get it so much in Symphonia and Abyss, but like in the later games, like it really just becomes a clusterfuck of a battle. And you're like, okay, well, I see heals are going off, and like you don't really notice who's casting them. So for a while, like I just
cast Resurrection. I don't know.
So for a while, I just figured that Laphicet was the one tanking all the healing, and I'm just like, and then I just kind of glanced through the art list at one point, and I'm like, oh, that's the reason why Laphicet isn't casting Healing Circle recently, because he can't, and Magilu's not in the party.
It's so weird. It's just like, because like you said, you get mixed signals from the story where it's like Laphicet's healing is important, and then you actually play the fighting, and you're like, not really. Like, what do you want from the game? I only know so much. But like, I still really like this system. It's so, I don't know, like,
it's a rough system, and I think it's a step up from what Zestiria had, and I think. And I'm debating whether or not I want them to continue this way, or if I want them to go back to the 2D plane.
If they do a third game in this story, they will almost certainly keep the same battle system. And I really hope they do a third game in this story. Please, God, Namdai, I'm dying here.
Please have that be your unnamed Switch project.
Please. Oh god, just give me one more, just make it a trilogy. Just go balls out and make this a trilogy, and you can sell it, and it would be awesome. You can make a 3-pack of the games, and everybody will love it. And then you can maybe make Zestiria a better game somewhere in the middle there. Somewhere in the middle of all this shit, make Tales of Zestiria F, like you did with Graces F. You know what I mean? Where, like, the original Graces was such a fucking cluster. You're like, we're gonna release this game again and make it good. Like, do that.
And, and honestly, because I think, and I'm probably wrong about this, but I think, like, in general, Zestiria is not as well received, like, even in Japan.
No, Japan is the one who lost their shit over waifu wars, because Alicia wasn't in the game as much as everybody thought, and jerking off to that, whatever. So it has, like, a ton of negative reviews on Amazon Japan, and it was
so maybe they will.
So I really hope so. I mean, I really fucking hope so, because, they're retconning the shit out of it in the anime for better, for better and for worse. That's a conversation we'll have at another time. But
that's going to be a later podcast when we go get into Zestiria. But like, it's a thing where like I love the 2D, the 2D style, and because Exilia and Vesperia are like two of my favorite in the series, and like I love that style of play, but I enjoyed playing Berseria, and I'm like, I don't know if I want them to take the gamble to see if they can just give it that push and make it better, and like fix the problems I have with it, and be like, okay, here is the new system, or if I wanted to be like, no, go back to what you had before and keep improving on that. I
think I would like this system more if they just fucking brought back TP. Is that so hard?
Yeah.
It's so hard to just give me a TP bar. You know what I mean? Like, give me, set all of your attacks on, like, where it's, you get, every button press corresponds to a different art in the combo, and, like, give me a fucking TP bar. And, like, if you successfully pull off that combo, then you regain some of your TP at the end of the combo the way you regain a soul. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know what this felt like? Like, and I think what they should lean more into is it felt like the way that God Hand designs its combos. Because, and I kind of wish they would do it with this, too, where, I mentioned earlier, Velvet's arts maneuver her around a lot, and it's almost a bit too much at some points, where I'm like, no, I just want to swing the sword a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, the way God Hand worked is that you could set up your own combo, but the moves you'd set up were okay, do you want to do a chop that breaks their guard, or do you want to do a strong straight right punch, or, a left jab, or a kick, Yeah. Simple maneuvers that you would just stack to find the best way to deal the most amount of damage the quickest.
Right.
And I kind of wish that, you could set your arts to square, triangle, and circle, and then have X be reserved for here's just a basic damage dealing combo.
Yeah, let me just have X be my... And that's actually what I ended up doing with Velvet.
Yeah.
Was I actually ended up setting my X attack to her 4 basic non-elemental, attacks. And that actually carried me through a lot of random, simple encounters. Yeah. It actually worked really well. Because a lot of stuff is just weak to being hit hard. Surprise!
Yeah.
So, and then you do, 3 X presses and a 4th triangle press to hit the elemental weakness or something, and that would do it. I mean, that was pretty fucking effective, so, I don't know why they just couldn't just do that, where, X is just your attack button, always,
Yeah. And then the other thing is, the weakness, based on what type of fiend or enemy you're fighting. I think it was a good idea, but I think there was too much variety for it to be completely effective.
There is such a thing as too many options.
Because your enemy types were okay, there's dragon, there's demi-human, there's human, there's plant, there's flying,
fiend, and on and on and on.
Fiend, undead, there's so many that, you could have just grouped them together into, 4 or 5, and then we could design combos that we wouldn't have to keep swapping out arts depending on which battle we're going into.
Or why can't we just, again, because, Exilia 2 has the best battle system in the series, why can't we go back to slash, strike, and piercing damage the way Exilia 2 incorporated different physical attack weaknesses, is that so hard? Can we not just say, well, this is an enemy that's weak to fire and slashing damage, so Velvet is what you want? I don't understand. Why can't we just do that?
Because
why do we have to?
We would run into. I'd run into situations where it's okay, well, this dragon type enemy is not, or this plant type creature is not weak to my fire attack. You're destroying everything I know about JRPGs.
Right?
You light plants on fire. That's what you do.
That's how this works, guys. I'm not a huge fan because it is a lot to remember too. This attack.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just after a certain point, I'm I can't remember all this. So I eventually just ended up, I never really gave too much of a shit about the enemy's type weakness, and I just went after their elemental weakness. Unless they had no elemental weakness, then I'd focus on their type weakness.
Well, what I would do is I would just attack them, and I would be okay, well, I'm seeing that the numbers are blue. Well, let me try another string. Okay, these numbers are red. I'll just keep doing this string.
Right. I ended up... The way I basically ended up doing it was that each... every button corresponded to an element, and then, especially because you can eventually incorporate, holding down R1 and hitting the face buttons, so then that way I could actually have attacks and all of my elements covered, and it actually worked out a lot better than I expected. I think that was, for me, that was the best way to play, and I really, this next playthrough I've already started, I'm going to start switching it up and playing as other characters, because I heard Aizen is fucking awesome to play as once you get used to it. But his burst is really tricky, because you can only build his blast gauge, or gauge, based on you have to stun the enemy and then he can use his blast. But like at the same time when I was playing the game, he was constantly using it, so I'm like, okay, it must be fucking possible. So yeah, and that's also I realized that's why he was like, that's why Aizen spams his Mystic Art so much, is because his blast, you can eventually get it up to where like every time he uses the blast, it'll fill that gauge. You can almost get a full gauge off of just one use.
Wow.
So like he can, I mean, like at the end of every battle, you can go back to having 5 BG, and so
why not just keep using it?
Why not keep spamming that Mystic Art if it's going to be that fucking effective, right? Like,
yeah,
fuck yeah. So I really want to get into playing as other characters.
There is another interesting thing I noticed about Berseria compared to the other Tales games. Aside from X2, Berseria is the first Tales game I can think of that I've played at least, where at no point does the party split up and you're forced to use another character for a long time.
Wait, let me think about that one. No. Well, I guess, okay, well, no. Exilia is kind of ticky about that, because, like, if you're playing as Mila's story, you actually end up getting, when she gets paralyzed, you get stuck playing as Jude for a little while, which is dumb. But otherwise, like, on Jude's story, the party never splits up and you get stuck playing as somebody else, I think. Wow. Not
on Jude's, but on Mila's. On Mila's you do.
So
and
it does count.
In Symphonia, you split up the party to invade a
that human ranch.
Yeah, human ranch. In Abyss, you get split up a lot.
Yeah. Guys.
In Vesperia, you get split up in the ghost ship.
Oh, that part's such fucking bullshit.
So like, yeah, there is, the only time it happens is there's one fight in the game where you play as Rokuro.
Which fight is that? Which one is that?
The one with Kurogane, I think.
Oh, right! Oh, man! Jesus! Yeah! Oh, wow. It's been 2 weeks.
But you never have to, like, split the party up and divide it into 2 groups of 3, ever.
Yeah, that is really weird. They don't ever split the part. I mean, like, there's the part where Velvet's having her meltdown. But they eventually all come back together. Does that count?
But when you're doing that, you're still as Velvet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you're not stuck playing as somebody. Man, that's wild. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's just like, I'm just like, I could play as Velvet for almost the entire game, except for one single fight.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's good though, because I guess because these characters are so techy, like even more so than Exilia, which is where the series started really introducing like the idea that every character has a unique thing they can do. Like that's where like Exilia is, as far as I can tell, where it started. Because like, you know, Jude has his flash step and Mila has her arc shifting and on and on and on. That's where it started, and the whole game has kind of progressed. The whole series has kind of followed that example where every character has a unique thing they can do, and in Berseria that manifests as blasts. So like, I guess that's kind of why they did that, is because it's so techy. They didn't want to make somebody, just force somebody into a completely different play style. Like, in Abyss, you can, in Symphonia, you can kind of struggle along. Like, the only part that really sucks is when you're stuck playing as Annis or Jade in that one fucking thing. Oh, God, that was the worst fucking part of the game.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really short.
15 minutes you have to play as Annis or Jade, and you're completely removed from any possible, like, just general striker.
Oh, God, it's the worst. Why would you do that to me, game? I have, like, flashbacks to that scene sometimes. I'm like, why would you think that's a good idea? But, like, yeah, I guess it's because they didn't want to force somebody to play another highly techie character, because every single one of these characters has their own unique little thing they can do. Some more so than others. Like, Magilu is very technical, apparently, and Aizen is as well, and Eleanor is more, like, super straightforward. Like, you know, her blast is just a really strong attack, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Eleanor is very just kind of like, bread and butter, hit things with your spear and occasionally do magic kind of thing. But yeah, like, I really could talk we've already talked for 30 minutes about the fucking battle system, and it's so good, but it's also so bad!
There's so many things about it that I really enjoy. Like, just pressing the buttons and seeing the attacks come out is it's very efficient, it's very quick, and it feels very, like, this whole game I felt was very reminiscent of, like, the feeling I got when I played Vesperia. Mm-hmm. Like, not in terms of, like, the mechanics of the story, but, like, the shift up from the previous one that I've played felt like the shift from Symphonia to Vesperia. Like, it felt like the shift from Exilia 2 to Berseria.
Yeah.
For me is like, this is such a big step up and like, it was daunting at first, but once I started getting into it, I really enjoyed it way more.
Yeah.
And once I'm like, okay, well, I figured out how this works. I can do this, and okay, this makes sense now.
Yeah, I tell people it's kind of like Tales games are what would happen if you made a fighting game into a JRPG, and now I'm wrong, because Berseria is exactly that. Berseria is just the whole franchise just straight up embracing this idea of, this is just a fighting game JRPG. Because it's just, you hit things super fast, and it's just very responsive and exciting.
This is all about learning to read moves.
Yeah, for sure.
And how to counterattack, when to guard, how to... Like, holding down your guard to charge an attack is a charge character. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the same spirit as, like, playing as Guile in Street Fighter. Like, learning how to mask your charge and then attack when the time is right.
Yeah, like, it's so, I mean, it's fun. Sometimes it kind of sucks, like, with the Souls thing, for sure. But, like, when you get rolling, like, really rolling, it's the most fun you can have. Just because, like...
Like, really
it's just awesome.
The biggest fix they could have done in this is, just make it easier to recover souls.
Yeah. Or just bring back
exactly.
TP. Look, I'll defend TP until I die, okay? Just because it's so... I mean, it's simple. Sometimes simple is the best option. Exilia's battle system is so good, guys! Like, can we have, like, a top-down version of Exilia's system?
That would be awesome.
Dope. Are you kidding me? Right? If you could, like, smoosh the two battle systems together, where, like the AC and TP system from Exilia is still there, but you also put the button press combo things from Berseria, and it's all top-down in 3D, that'd be fucking amazing! I'd never play anything else. You might as well just sew the disc onto my body as proof that it's the only thing that matters to me.
The only next step they could do to make this more like a fighting game would be to just go with inputs. Like, if they actually went and put in actual motions, that would be like, okay, well, now this just is a fighting game. Okay.
You might as well just play this game with a fight stick at this point. You might as well just play this fucking game with a fight stick. And the thing is, like, your arts in this game change based on, what you've assigned them to. Like sometimes the direction of your art changes based on, like, which button it's assigned to. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is basically a fighting game. Thanks, guys. It's awesome. Sometimes it kind of sucks, but sometimes it's fucking amazing. And Velvet is super, super broken. And that's why I want to play as somebody else. Because, like, I mean, like, Hertharian mode is the most broken fucking thing ever. Because you can just, if you're good at it, and I got pretty good at it, you can just keep going. You can just you can just stun lock something and just keep fucking comboing until you win. And, like, on the outside looking in, I'm like, that's pretty fucking broken. But when you're playing, it's pretty fun, you know?
Yeah.
You feel like a badass, and that's really what's, like,
totally.
Here. Fucking... We've talked for 35 minutes just about the gameplay of Berseria.
Oh yeah, well yeah. Well, right off the bat, this is gonna be a two-parter. So like, I figure we might as well just go into half the cast for tonight. Because there's a lot to talk about each character, and
yeah, I guess that would work. Yeah, I can't think of like another way to approach it for now. Unless we just want to talk, like, generalized things and then do talk next week. Or the next time we do this. I don't know. Because I feel like,
we could just do like a general plot.
All the characters.
Plot structure tonight and then do the characters later time, yeah.
Because, I mean, like, splitting it up kind of feels awkward. We've done this before.
Yeah, oh well. Podcast.
But I was running super late today, so I was like, get home! Put in the recording stuff! Get to work!
Yeah, we can just do general plot stuff, and then we'll probably dive a little bit into characters a little bit as we just talk about it, but... And
general game stuff, because there's a lot to kind of...
There's a lot of game in this game.
There's a lot of game in this game. There's a lot of lore, and a lot of world... and a lot of just, like, twisty things happening, and there's a lot of Berseria redemption going on. It's a game that somehow manages to frame Zestiria in a brighter light by existing. I've been telling you a lot. Berseria is like the anti-Exilia 2, because it's a prequel instead of a sequel that makes the game that came before it better.
Exactly.
Instead of worse. Like, that's exactly what Berseria is. It's just the anti-Exilia 2. Whereas Exilia 2 nearly destroyed my faith in Tales games entirely.
Yeah, with just being that bad.
Berseria managed to make me go, oh, right, this is why I love this fucking franchise. I remember now. Because I do. I love this franchise. And Berseria is just packed to the gills with shit to remind me of it. The story is good. The world is interesting. I wish the dungeons were better, but you can't have everything, I guess.
The dungeons in this game, like, well, yeah, and
they're so bland.
The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know what I want Tales dungeons to be, because like, do I want them to be gimmicky? No, because then you get Symphonia. Do I want them to be bland? No, because then you get Berseria. Like, what do I want?
I think what I want is, I want them to go, because I think the best example of, like, Tales and, like, spoiler alert, Tales have never been good at dungeons, really. Like, their dungeons have never been super great. Like, the ones in, in Symphonia are infuriating. The ones in Abyss are annoying. Exilia and Exilia 2 and Zestiria and Berseria's are all really bland. Like, they're just hallways and they're nothing really interesting. So what I'm saying is, I need everybody to go back to fucking Vesperia, and I want them to all sit down and play that fucking game for like 800 hours. Because that game...
Well, you know what I think about it is, for Vesperia? Vesperia had a good balance of using the Sorcerer's Ring. It didn't, like, throw in a bunch of different mechanics of the Sorcerer's Ring. It was a one zap does all. They weren't long. They were they were a decent enough length that you felt like sometimes Berseria, I'm like, oh my god, I just want it to end.
I know. After a certain point, you just pop a holy bottle and you just start running to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
You've clearly done enough grinding, because you're just... So it's like, oh my god, just get me out of here. Let me fight the boss at the end of this hole and get me the fuck out of here. Like, and Vesperia's were like, they're just long enough and they're a little complicated.
There's
their puzzles aren't hard, but you've got to use
there's a thing here, figure out the problem. It's not a tough problem, but it's enough to be like, make you think for a minute, and then you go, oh, here it is, and then you do it, and then you're done. And I think one of the other most important things, there's two important things, and this is one that Vesperia does and one that no Tales game does. Vesperias are pretty.
They are so pretty.
And
oh my god, they're so pretty.
That I still think, after all the Tales games I've played, I still think Vesperia looks the best. And I would give anything, I was thinking about this today, I would give anything for the next Tales game to go back to that soft cell shading that Vesperia has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I feel that for sure.
I appreciate the art style for Berseria and the other ones, but like the vibrant colors and like the soft shading in Vesperia is just so good that I want to return back to that.
It holds up really well to time. That's the thing. Is that in 10 years, as good as Berseria's models look, they're going to look dated in 10 years. But Vesperia's models are still, like, they have just held up to time so well because they are so stylized that you can't look at them and be like, I see how they're dated. Because they're not. They can't, you can't date them because the stylization kind of future-proofs them in a way. Yeah. You know? It's awesome.
And like that also reminds me, I'm going to don't let me forget to get back to my other point about the dungeons, but as a side note, like, oh my god, the hair physics in Berseria are like, I was really worried because Velvet has really long hair, and Tales games don't have a good history with long hair.
Oh god, Mila, no!
Mila's hair is a big chunk. It doesn't do anything. It's just there.
It stabs her in the stomach occasionally. It clicks through everything she has. She sits up and it's still one big chunk, and like parts of it are sticking out of her legs. You're like, Mila, no, you're being killed by your hair.
And then Velvet's actually bends. Like, when Velvet, like, jumps off something and her hair goes up and, like, it curves upward, I'm like, so they actually did it!
They finally did it. I'm so proud of them.
Now, granted, and this is every Tale, like, Tales really needs to get their shit together about clipping in general. Yeah. Like, it's so bad in every game.
It's always bad.
Sleeves and hair are just phasing through everything.
It's just, it doesn't matter. It's just like the lowest priority for them, and every now and then it can really fucking take your ass out of the scene. You're like,
every so often,
sticking out of your cheek.
Yeah. When you see a character turn their head in a dramatic scene and they're just clipping straight through their collar, and I'm just like, oh, stop, do the work. Put in 5 minutes a day and do the work.
Oh, I know.
But they're getting better at it in Berseria. Like,
my god. Okay, so what's your other point?
My other point is, and I think this is the best way to fix Tales dungeons. And it looked like Zestiria was going for it, and they backed off of it for Berseria, and they need to fully embrace it. They need to add more maneuverability in the overworld.
Yeah. They tried it. They did it in, they did do it in Zestiria in a handful of ways that are kind of like,
but like,
they work.
What they need to do, and I thought about this while like playing Breath of the Wild at the same time that I was wrapping up Berseria, and I'm like, not to the level of Legend of Zelda, of course, but like, hey, if you just had a dedicated jumping button. And you can,
nice.
You know what game does do that is Wild Arms 5.
Yeah.
Treated its dungeons as there were like occasionally a platforming section or like a thing where you had to shoot a bunch of targets.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's not the Sorcerer's Ring, but like it's better than that because it gives you something else to do besides wander around a hallway and occasionally press a button that makes a door open.
Right? Yeah.
It's like
either do the Vesperia system where your puzzles are like just complicated enough to kind of make the little hamster in your brain turn that wheel, or kind of vary them up with just the way you maneuver around the dungeon. And don't just give me a fucking geoboard. As funny and awesome as I think the geoboard is, don't cheap out and give me a fucking geoboard. Like, give me a real way to maneuver dungeons and shit. You know? Yeah. Like, come on, guys.
Or, you know,
2017.
There are a lot of JRPGs nowadays that are doing stuff like that, where, like, okay, you don't have full platforming action over your character, but hey, you can jump whenever you want, not just when Velvet goes to a little golden arrow.
Hey,
and then she can hop.
If Final Fantasy 15 can have a fucking jump button, Tales of Berseria can have a jump button, okay?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, it would give you something to, like, kind of something to do while you're navigating all these dungeons.
Yeah, like, give me something to do here, people. You know? Because really, the dungeons in Berseria, as much as I love this game, they're some of the blandest pieces of shit I've
They're just
ever
really
seen.
boring, and they're also really long, and some of them are even to the point where they're infuriating because they give you no direction on where to go. The last dungeon in particular is probably the worst dungeon I've ever played in a Tales game.
Bad.
Like,
and that's including the Emir Forest.
Yeah, because while the Emir Forest was a nightmare, at least you were doing shit.
You were at least doing something instead of walking around, running slowly in these giant, empty fucking hallways.
Yeah.
With this not great song playing on constant loop in the background, and just, like, trying to figure out where the fuck you're going, while also fighting some pretty fucking annoying enemies.
Yeah, if you get into a risky encounter in that, either stop the game now, or be prepared to burn through all of your life bottles. Because if you get 6 angels on you at once, like, you're done.
It's so fucking annoying. It's so bad. And it's kind of like, when I first started playing the game, I was like, oh no, the towns are going to be really bland. Because the first handful of towns you see, you're just like, eh. But then, like, you get to Logres, and it's pretty cool, and you get to Renid, and that's pretty cool, and you get to Isolde, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the towns in this game are pretty cool. They're pretty
good. Taliesin is the really neat looking. Like, they're all really good, so you're like, yay! Yeah. And then you get to the dungeons, and you're like, no!
I don't want to do this part.
I don't want another fucking hallway. I am so tired of literal just square hallways. That's
As big fans of Persona 4, we're sick to death of hallways.
At least those hallways had the goddamn decency to be randomized, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
At least those hallways also had the decency to have good music playing, and, like,
the music in this game.
It's not, the music in this game is not that great, except for the one theme.
Yeah, but even then, the one theme, Velvet's theme and Zavid's theme. Velvet's theme is really fucking good, and was actually composed by Sakuraba, who does most of the music for most of the Tales games. Zavid's theme is a carryover from Zestiria, and was composed by Go Shinai, who is a god. And all of Zestiria's good music is because of him. And so, like, I think Sakuraba is just kind of like at the end of his rope. You can only make so many, like, JRPG sounding music soundtracks over and over again.
And I mentioned this to you earlier, like, when we first started picking it up, like, the music's very reminiscent of Vesperia, but not nearly as good as Vesperia's, which absolutely killed it.
But Velvet's theme is so goddamn
Velvet's
good.
theme
oh my
is
god.
so fucking good.
It's so goddamn good. The bit at the end of Act 2
yeah,
where, like, Laphicet is giving his speech and her theme is playing in the background, and as soon as, like, the chorus hit, like, the main part hit hard, I went from being, like, on the verge to just total meltdown. Like, when the music hit its, like, apex, and Laphicet's just like, I love you, Velvet! I'm like...
That is probably one of the best scenes in all of Tales games.
Oh, it might be the best scene in the entire franchise. I'll go out on a limb and say it is, honestly. Because it is just, like, the build up to it is so good, right? Oh man.
Well, because you were like, you'd better cry at the end of Act 2. And I'm thinking, like, well, you know what? I've played a lot of Tales games. And I know the emotional depth that they go to. And I know how Tales games can pull at me. And now, I kind of have an idea of how I'm going to feel. Something crazy is going to happen, and I'm going to lose my shit. I know I'm going to. And I'm like, but I'm like, I don't know if I'll cry. I don't really cry a lot playing video games.
You cried.
And then, and then it got to that bit, and I'm like, oh god, she was right all along. Oh no, yes. I was a fool.
You weren't prepared. even with all of my, like, inhuman screeching about the end of Act 2, I'm like, you're not ready for the end of Act 2.
I was like, not prepared.
And it's like, I'll be alright. No, you're not ready for the end of Act 2. You're blowing shit out of proportion. And then you get to the end of Act 2 and you're like, fuck, because she was right.
Because I'm not really, like, afraid to say it. I think between the two of us, you were way more, like, openly emotional.
Oh, God.
In regards, especially in regards to media, than I am.
Yes, let's be
so,
real. I cry at the drop of a fucking hat, but I cry super hard.
Because you'll be like, oh my god, I was like sobbing my eyes out, and I'll be like, yeah, I got a little misty-eyed, and I'm like, but like, in comparison, that's like the same level of affection between both of us, like...
Right, exactly, totally.
Me getting misty-eyed is the equivalent of you, like, just completely losing your shit, so like...
Having a meltdown.
When I felt like my eyes watering up, I'm like, son of a bitch, she was right. That's
because
such a good fucking...
It's so emotionally intense because, like, the build-up to it is so good. I could write a novel. I might spend an entire podcast one day just talking about the build-up to Act 2 and the way it ends. Because, like, the emotional build-up to it from the minute... From when shit goes wrong with Oscar and Teresa and Velvet accidentally kills them, to where things end up at the end of Act 2, that whole thing is just this build-up of just, like, trying to completely and totally destroy Velvet Crow's psyche. And so, like, and you're just, I mean, you're really feeling it the whole time. You can just kind of feel it. Actually, no, it's before that, too, because the whole thing with a ball and, like, being, you know... thinking everything is okay, and surprise, surprise, you still killed everybody you knew and loved.
Like, be honest, were you even fooled at the slightest?
I was a little bit, but, like, I knew it couldn't be real, but I was just, because it was, like, because I couldn't think of a time when... How am I trying to phrase this? When the illusion could have happened, because it kind of the way they framed it was like, oh well, these villagers in Taliesin have been talking to the people from a ball for years, you know. I didn't realize that even those conversations you were having with people in Taliesin were
part of the illusion. Yeah,
right. So I was thinking, like, what the fuck? Did he save did Artorias actually go back and heal everybody? But no, everybody was dead. I was, like, seriously, like, you know, second guessing myself.
Yeah.
Because the way, I mean, it was a good way to frame it, you know, to show that, to kind of make you doubt yourself because other people from Taliesin were talking to the people from a ball, you know?
Yeah, that was a good touch that, like, really, really helped sell it a bit.
Yeah.
And so, but, like, I was never fully convinced, but I was still like, there's maybe there's some shit going on, or like maybe he brought them back as like husks or something, you know?
Some weird zombie bullshit is going on. Yeah. Or like some fucked up, I don't know, like I don't know if I was expecting illusions, because again the Taliesin conversations kind of threw me for a loop, but I was expecting something. But then, of course, as soon as Velvet realized it was a dream, I was like, oh shit, it's a dream, what the fuck? So, like, but the point is that that whole sequence from then on, like, that end, the last third-ish of Act 2 is basically devoted to, like, completely and totally breaking down Velvet's psyche as a person.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so, like, by the end of it, it's kind of like pulling you down, too, because it's like, oh, God, everything just keeps going wrong.
Well, I'll be honest, like, when you were mentioning, like, okay, you're going to cry at the end of Act 2, I thought you were, like, when I got to the scene with Oscar and Teresa, I'm like, is this it?
No, fuck that. No.
Yeah, and I'm like, because I'm like, no. I was like, I hope this isn't it, because I feel nothing.
I don't feel bad for Oscar and Teresa.
Yeah.
Because they were just a pair of bastards.
Yep.
But I have a really hard time empathizing with anybody who was like, I'll enslave these things that have faces like people. Like, sorry, it's still like a people. You should know better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so even whenever they were trying to like humanize Oscar and Teresa, you know, I felt a little bad for Teresa after Oscar died because Brina Palencia is a really, really good character. So when like after Velvet's killed him, and you know, it's just showing like, it's showing Teresa just kind of having like her own Velvet style breakdown, and she says, "He was a really good kid." Like, the way she sold that line, I was like, oof. Oh, no. Right in my soul. Oh, no.
Then she turned into a bullshit boss fight, and I was like, okay, no, never mind.
Yeah, and, I mean, you know, like, I'm an older sister, so, like, this game, like, seriously, like, did a really good job of, like, yanking on all of my emotional strings. Like, I even have, like, my age gap is kind of close, like, between me and one of my siblings is kind of close to, like, Velvet and Laphicet, you know? So, like, it did a good job of kind of yanking on that emotional, you know, string that kind of connected me in the game. So when, you know, she says, like, oh, he was a really good kid, I was like, oh, no, I can't do this.
Oh, no, the feelings.
Oh, no, my emotions. This is horrible. I'm feeling things again. And then it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse until it finally culminated in the end of Act 2. It was the will you stop whining?
Yeah,
is the same. It is the same as everybody's got dead people.
Yeah,
you know.
With like, and I told you ever since that scene, I've been telling you this. Like, Laphicet is a Gynax protagonist trapped inside of an Ufotable anime.
It's amazing.
Like,
it's amazing.
That is on the exact same level as Clench Those Teeth.
Oh yeah, it's the same level as like Clench Those Teeth. Or the speech at the end of episode 11 in Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
Where, you know, like, you know, Kamina is dead, but on my back and in my heart, he lives on in me. It's that scene. It's that level of intensity.
Well, because straight up, it's even to the point where, like, they're doing the dramatic speech, the dramatic "you are better than you think you are" speech, like, while a powerful force is sucking everything away.
Yeah.
And, like, and they're screaming it at each other, and like you could almost feel the like sketchy part of the art style.
Yeah, you could totally like feel the art style turning sketchy as like Laphicet just keeps like flipping out at her too. I was so not ready for that line because like Isaac's like, you know, tell this self-absorbed idiot what she needs to hear, and I'm like, oh boy, what's he gonna say? And all that comes out of his mouth is, will you stop whining?
And like, at that moment, Laphicet became the best kid character in Tales.
Oh, for sure. Like, shot up to number 1 on the list. And
like,
then he punched the final boss in his teeth, and you're like, aha, this child is the best.
Like, I'm sorry, Elise, I love you, but Elise never got furious at someone like that.
Oh my god, and it was so good. And it's just like, oh my god, the shared character development between Laphicet and Velvet is so good.
It's really good.
Oh my god, it's so strong. And just like the end of Act 2 is so fucking good.
It's like because it's so completely unexpected because Laphicet is the kid character, and you generally think of the kid character as being one of the softer ones, and like compared to characters like Annis, who are like very aggressive characters, but like Annis was more aggressive in that like sort of adorable way. You know,
like she's more just like a little like precocious brat.
Yeah, and it was comic relief. You know, I'll kill you, you bastards! As she's falling out of the Tartarus, and like it's like to see Laphicet suddenly go from being kind of like the shy, meek little kid to just screaming at Velvet and then punching Innominat in the face.
So fucking good. So fucking good.
And I mentioned this to you, but like the fact that like, you know, not like maybe an hour or so earlier, you had the scene where they were in Titania, and Laphicet punches Aizen in the stomach.
Yeah.
And like he just kind of tanks it, you know.
Yeah.
And so like you're just like, okay, well, there's an emotional weight behind it. Like, yeah, that's how bad Laphicet's got. Like, Laphicet wants to do it. He's resorting to his punches, even though he's a magic user.
Right, and he's
you're
like a 10-year-old.
And you're like, okay, I see, like, you know, it's a great illustration of, like, even though he can't fight like that, he is still going to do everything he can. Oh, wait, no, he can literally knock the final boss off his feet. Okay, well, never mind then.
Never mind. This is the best kid ever. This is the best kid ever. And
what's his line, like, at the final boss encounter, too?
Oh my god, he says, so Inominat says, like, ever since you've punched me, I've had this weird feeling in my chest, and I can't explain it. And Laphicet looks the final boss in the eye and says, I'll just have to hit you again and see if that helps. What the fuck?
It's, you know what it is? Laphicet's character development is that episode of Samurai Jack where Jack has to take care of the baby. And, like, he gives the baby back to the family at the end, and the baby's got his facial expression.
He has the soul of the samurai now. That's exactly what it is! Oh my god! That's totally what it is! Laphicet hung around with 5 psychopaths for 4 psychopaths and Eleanor for, like, however fucking long this, so like 60 hours of gameplay, and at the end of it he's just like, clearly violence is the answer. That's what Laphicet learned. Well, that's the moral of the story to Laphicet, is that violence is actually the answer. Who knew?
Did you ever see that GIF set, or like that image set from Digimon Season 2 where TK's talking to like the villain of the series, and he's like trying to come to like terms with each other, and they're like, at one point, he says something like, yeah, that's right. When violence isn't the answer, sometimes talking it out is the answer. And then he goes, but sometimes violence is the answer, and he just punches him in the face.
That's totally what it is, though, is that clearly what Laphicet learned from hanging around with a bunch of crazy people and Eleanor is violence actually is the answer, turns out. Whoops. You can just punch the bad guy, the fucking final boss, in the face. Because he made your big sister cry. How fucking
man! He should have gotten an art after that. Like, his mystic art should have just been to punch them.
Just to punch something.
Just a single punch. Well, you know, it's like, I want to like see him, like that image, that first shot of Saitama in episode 1, where, like, after he does the one punch and he's just got his hand like outstretched and he's got that blank expression.
Oh my God,
someone make Laphicet into that.
Oh my god, it's amazing. It was so, and I didn't expect it at all. I was like, oh my god.
No.
Oh my god, because, like, you know, and Elminat's doing the dramatic, like, flying towards, you know, Laphicet with the sword thing, and I'm like, oh god, it's about to get bad. And then he just slugs him right in the teeth, and I'm like, oh my god, it's about to get awesome. It's amazing.
Like, you could almost see, like, the spiral eyes.
You totally could. It's such a, just, like, oh my god, just, like, go fuck yourself, you piece of shit.
I really, really want, like, this is the game to, as much as I love UFO Table, and they did a great job with Fate anime, and they did a great job with the Berseria anime, and I love them to death, but get Bones, or get Trigger, or get Gainax to do the anime for Berseria, because if any game deserves it, it's this one.
It's this game of a bunch of amoral psychopath pirates just kind of doing whatever the fuck they want. I mean, I honest to God love the theme of Berseria so much, because it's just like, it's basically people are selfish. What the fuck are you gonna do? Like, that's the theme of the game, is that, you know what? Sometimes being selfish is good.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. Sometimes being selfish is, like, what makes you a person, is not, like, selfless sacrifice or you know, doing, like, the noble thing. Sometimes the answer is you've gotta be an asshole.
Like, this is the first game where, like, you don't play as heroes. I mean,
you legitimately don't. Velvet is the first Lord of Calamity, which becomes a thing after her.
Yeah, and, like, it's, you get to this point where, like, they're not making the world necessarily a better place at the end.
No.
Like, they're leading it on they're preventing a bad thing, but they're not making it better at the end.
I mean, they're really, the only reason things are better at the end is because Laphicet becomes an Empyrean, and, like...
Yeah.
But, like, that's just all Laphicet. Like, I mean, like, Eleanor kind of is trying in her post-credits scene, but everybody else is just kind of doing their own selfish-ass thing, and I really dig it.
Yeah, because, like, in every other Tales game, like, by the end of the game, they've removed... Usually the Tales games work is you remove the system that's been in place, and it's going to be hard for a while, but ultimately it will be better for everyone that it is now this way.
Right.
Like, but, like, at the end of Berseria, it's more like, well, fuck it.
It's just, I mean, like, Berseria is such a good flip, because, like, you know, okay, so Zestiria's, like, theme is kind of, like, human nature is inherently bad, you know, and so, like, that's kind of what drags Zestiria down in a lot of ways, and I know you don't know as much about it as me, is that, like, that's kind of what drags Zestiria down, is that it just as cute and naive and good as Sara can be, like, the theme of the game is kind of a bummer. It's kind of like you can't really fix anything, you can't really save anything, and the things you do fix take a really long time, and nothing ever really gets that good. Like, the nature of malevolence in Zestiria is just kind of a downer without any of the, like, uplifting shit, you know?
Yeah.
But then Berseria comes and turns it on its heel and says, well, yeah, people are naturally malevolent, and yeah, you know, this is human nature. But that's not always a bad thing. It just kind of is it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It just kind of exists, and you just have to make of it what you want.
It don't matter. None of this matters.
It's such a good fucking theme. It's a completely different approach to the Tales theme of, like, changing the world in a really unique way. I mean, it's so good. It's so satisfying to be at the end of it and just be like, oh, well, you did kind of play the game as a bunch of bad guys.
Well, and you know what, like, in general, can we get more JRPGs where you just play as pirates?
Can we get more JRPGs where you don't play as a bunch of infants? Because
like...
having an entire cast except for one character all be over 18 was like, oh my god, it was so good. Thank you so much, Berseria. Because I'm a grown-ass woman now. And so, like, playing as other... I mean, I know that Velvet... Okay, and from where I'm sitting now, like, Velvet is 19 and Eleanor is 18. So technically those are still children to me. But, like, they're not, like, little 15-year-olds running around, you know, I'm gonna save the world. Fuck off, you're 15.
No one is a 15-year-old doctor.
Yeah,
in this game. Well, no, that's wrong. There is a 15-year-old doctor in this game.
But it's the same 15-year-old doctor from the other one, so he doesn't count. Okay? You know, there's not a bunch of, you know, like, babies running around, I guess is what I'm saying. And, like, God, it's so fucking satisfying. And I saw on Reddit, somebody was like, Tales of Berseria is what happens where... Like, Tales of Berseria is proof that you don't need your cast to be a bunch of fucking morons for your plot to work. Like, you know, like the general gist of, like, a JRPG cliche is that everybody in your cast is just kind of an idiot, or they do stupid shit, right?
Yeah.
But, like, the Berseria cast is, I mean, they're all pretty fucking savvy, you know?
There isn't really a dumb one.
I mean, they're not. I mean, Rokuro is kind of like a doofus, but he's also really smart and insightful. And
Rokuro is more easy. He's more just easygoing than he is dumb.
Exactly. Like, there's no cast idiot, and I mean, like, it's really nice to just have like that. Like, okay, the best thing that, like, the way, all you need to know about Tales of Berseria to know that this is a cast full of smart people is the scene where Eleanor is scheming with Artorias, and then the camera cuts to Eisen and Velvet listening like this. Bitch. Does this bitch really think she's gonna pull one over on us? Like, that's what I mean. They were smart enough to know, like, Eleanor is probably gonna try and stab us in the back. We should keep an eye on her.
Well, like, how many early skits are all about Velvet being like, Laphicet, keep an eye on Eleanor, no matter what.
It's amazing. they're smart. They don't keep doing the same fucking shit. They're not caught off guard by, Eleanor wanting to, side with the Abbey. They're just like, oh yeah, well obviously she would because she worked with them her whole life. Like, they have some common fucking sense about the way things are. It's amazing.
It's really, really entertaining.
It is such a breath of fresh air.
That's exactly what it is. It's a relief to have that. Like, have this kind of cast.
It is. I mean, they're just so, it's such a relief to have a cast like this after, fucking, as much as, I don't dislike the cast of Zestiria, but, like, most of them are children, and one of them is Sara, who is just, like, sparkle-eyed, naive Jesus character. I get it, it works, but sometimes it's kind of a dated concept at this point. It's like, please, God, we need something else, anything else, and we got Berseria out of the pack.
And then you got Velvet, who is the exact opposite of everything Sara is.
Oh my God, and it's so good. I mean, I know she's like edgelord queen, but I mean, that's exactly what this fucking franchise needed, was edgelord queen. After every possible iteration of goody two-shoes, honor student, nice guy, hero, except for Yuri, but whatever, Yuri doesn't count. I mean, the rest of them are, generally speaking, Luke turns into one, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking flip it on its ear and give us, for one, an actual, female protagonist who doesn't have to share the limelight with a 15-year-old doctor. And just, like, let her be the antithesis of every other Tales protagonist, Like, let her keep being an asshole until the end, and that's literally what happens. And it is great.
I think the funniest thing about this, though, is that, like, they knew that, players would not enjoy playing as an actual villain. Mm-hmm. So, like, they had to do the storytelling thing where, yeah, her intentions are bad and, like, she is not a helpful person, but the things that the actions that she performs herself are not going to hurt anyone that didn't actually deserve it. Like, right. Circumstances will happen so that, like, she doesn't just devour an innocent person.
Right, yeah, they kind of, like, twisted the story around to make sure. I mean, they did a good job of it.
They did a good job, but I'm just like, every so often you'll see it be like, you'll be like, well, like, she'll do something heinous, and then they'll be like, but it's the exact same idea of, like, good thing no one was in that building when it got destroyed.
Right, for sure.
Or like, oh man, they blew up that cargo plane with no one in it.
Yeah, totally. And I mean,
it's one of those things where like, I don't mind, because no, I would not like to play as a character who just, like, starts devouring random villagers,
Yeah, for sure. Like, you want to be able to still root for your protagonist, even if she's not, like, a great person, And at the end of it, I mean, we'll talk about this the next time, but she does kind of, I'm so kind of divided on the ending, because, like, I love Velvet, and I want her to get a happy ending, but this kind of is her happy ending,
Well, it's something that we both talked about, like, after I finished it, and that, like, and this is plot related information, so we can talk about it more in depth next time. Mm-hmm. But, like, especially in regards to Velvet herself. But yeah, I'm really sick of the protagonist fucking off at the end of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of divided on it for that reason. Like, it worked really well in this context, right? Like, it's still the selfish thing for Velvet to do, because she is a selfish person. So it's within her character, and all she ever wanted was to live peacefully with Laphicet, and, and because she is a bad person who did a lot of bad things, like, this is the best kind of ending she could hope for. Like, I get it. It all makes sense, logically. Yeah. But, like, as somebody on the outside looking in, I'm like, I'm kind of fucking sick of it.
It's the problem is that, like, yeah, it's an ending that works, but in a game like this that subverted so many expectations plot-wise,
yeah,
like, to have them at the very end fall back on the tried and true Tales ending, it's just like, okay, well, I'm just like, yeah, it works, but you could have done something really, and I don't know what they could have done differently, but like, they could have mixed it up even more, and had it be even more original than this. When you have a world like this that we've literally never seen anything like this before, with this kind of cast, this kind of motivation driving the characters and everything like that, like, to have the ending not, slam as hard as it could have, it's just, I mean, it's a functional ending, but it's not impressive.
It could have been more. It could have definitely done something else, and I don't know what that is. Clearly, the answer is a third game.
Yeah.
Where, Sara and Velvet run around together. I don't fucking know. I don't know what the third game should be. I just know I really, really want one.
Yeah.
Like, the more I talk about it with people, and the more I find out about, like, the backstory of the games, and, like, everything that's in Zestiria, plus everything that's in Berseria, it's just like, no, we really need a third game. Like, really, really badly. Namdai, make this a trilogy, please. Because, like, I just need... There's still things I need closure on,
Yeah.
I need to just know certain things. I need, I just want more.
Yeah, it really boils down to I just want more. And, like, yeah, it's just, like... I came away from the ending of it, and like there's still a lot more I want to talk about tonight. So like I don't think this is the end of the discussion right now. But like I came away from the ending like satisfied, but way more satisfied with the game I just played rather than the conclusion of this particular story.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. Like that's exactly what it is. It's just like I'm really satisfied with this game. I don't know how satisfied I am with this conclusion.
I guess, like, one of the fixes they could have made that if Velvet's decision was a impromptu one, like, desperation forced her to do that, that would have been better. But, because the fact that she was planning on doing it all along is the exact same thing that happened with Luke. It's her ending is the exact same path that Luke followed.
And it's kind of... I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of plot and visual callbacks to other Tales games, so I feel like that was maybe intentional in a way. Not that it's a good idea, but I think it was just an intentional thing. I mean,
it's if that's true, they should have kept it as being weird little references and not have it be a plot relevant thing.
Yeah,
I think we were, like, on that note, like, I think we were robbed of a very cool mystic art by just having Artorias's be Yuri's.
Yeah.
Because his opens with an unlimited blade works.
Yeah.
And then it's just Savage Wolf Fury.
It's just Savage Wolf Fury. But I mean, like, I guess the deal is that his real mystic art is the armatized mystic art with Inominat.
Yeah, but, I think, like, he should have had a cooler one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, absolutely.
I mean, when you start with unlimited, because like the one thing that makes Yuri's cool is that Yuri is just a dude, right? And all he's gonna do is a cool sword maneuver for his. Artorias is like the greatest swordsman in the world, and he is the shepherd. He should have something as grandiose as that title,
right? For sure. And I mean, like Savage Wolf Fury is cool, but you could do better.
Mm-hmm.
Like come on, guys, you could do better. But, like, I don't know. God, there's so much to, like, unpack. I feel like I should, for once, I'm like, shit, I should have taken notes.
Well, there is one other topic I want to talk about. Like, we can probably talk about this for a while.
Yeah?
Shit, this game has great side characters.
Fuck, doesn't this game have great side characters? Oh my god, right?
When, the fact that, like, part of the game is about you slowly gathering like a whole crew of really dope side characters is like
weirdos is awesome.
I'm like, this is exactly what I want games, and it's like one of the reasons I want to go back to Skies of Arcadia, because I know that Skies of Arcadia is this exact thing, and I also know that Chrono Cross is kind of this exact thing where like instead of having a core cast of like 6 players, Chrono Cross gives you like
it's like 30 playable characters or something like that. It's been a while. I think it's 28. It's a lot.
And it's also the same thing as, like, in the same manner as, like, Final Fantasy VI, where you recruit a whole bunch of party members, but, like, you're getting these really cool characters that are just, like, hanging around your ship from now on.
Oh my god, and it's, like, the first time I kind of had, like, as soon as I met Dial, I'm like, they're gonna recruit this guy. And then they did, and I was like, yes! And it just kept happening. I did not expect them to bring Kurogane along, and when they did, I'm like, this is the best game ever. I'm sold.
Okay, so first off, like, I told you when I first met Dial, I'm like, oh, this guy is a really cool design. I really like Dial. I hope I get to meet, like, you meet him again. It'll be really cool if, like, I just get to see him in a random scene later on. And then, like, he gets on the ship, and then he stays on the ship. He doesn't leave at all. Or he doesn't just, like, fade away into, like, the crowd. And I'm like, this is awesome! I'm really happy with this! And then Kurogane shows up. And I'm like, first off, Kurogane has one of the coolest designs I've ever seen for a character ever.
Yeah, let's be real. A headless, like, talking suit of armor is fucking dope, no matter when it happens. FMA.
Alphonse Elric, eat your heart out. There's a new walking suit of armor in town.
It's so fucking good. Like, it's so good. It's just, like, when you first met Dial and you texted me and you're like, man, I really hope Dial joins the crew. I'm sitting here, like, staring at my phone, like, I can't say anything, but I want him to know, don't worry. And I'm
like, I told you that kind of, like, as a joke, because I'm like, okay, there's no way this random off, like,
boss.
Yeah, this weird boss who, like, we strike up a deal, but, like, he's gonna bail on us as soon as he gets to port. But, like, it's a long shot, but it'd be really cool if he stuck around. And then he does, and I'm just oh, this is awesome. And then Kurogane,
he sticks around and is not only, like, he doesn't just stick around, he's so important that he gets 2 shots in the final cutscene of the game.
Yeah, I know. Like, you don't usually see that kind of care for side characters.
Exactly. Like, the fact that Dial gets to be in the final cutscene of the game twice is awesome. I'm so glad.
And then, not only that, but, like, when Kurogane joins, I'm like, oh man, Kurogane's on the team too. That's super awesome. And then Kurogane and Dial become friends?
They're like bros for life and hanging out with Rokuro, and they just sit around and drink and talk shit. And like, this is the best game ever. This is what every game about pirates should be about putting together, like, a ragtag crew, you know?
And then you get what's his name, Prince Percival?
Yes!
Who is also, like, a really cool guy, and I wish he stayed around for more.
Yeah, like, after the thing in Logris, where, like, everybody's like a zombie, like, he kind of stops being a character after that.
Yeah, we don't see him ever again, and I'm like, that's a shame, because he was really cool, and I, like,
he was a bro. Like, you expect him to be a prick, and he's actually just, like, a really cool guy, you know?
Mm-hmm. He's with you, like, 100%, and, like, the fact that we kind of don't see him ever again is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer, and it's just, like, you know, you get to, you know, Kamoana and Medusa, you get 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And it's just, like, by the end of the game, you've kind of put together this literal ragtag group of weirdos, and that's on top of the fact that all of the nameless NPCs on the Valneltia are really interesting weirdos.
Yeah! Like, Benwick is also one of the coolest, like, one of the best characters I've ever seen. Like, Benwick's awesome!
Benwick's great! He's, like, supportive, he has a really interesting design, like, his English voice actor does a great job, and, like, all of these little things come together, and you're like, man, Benwick is fucking awesome! And, like, all of these little and they're minor story characters. This is not even including characters like Ifrid and Zavid, who are technically side characters. Like, we're talking about, like, the minor story characters who are not that important to the plot. Like, those guys are really well developed, and they're just interesting, fun people. You know?
Ifrid's crew as a whole is, like, a really, like, inspiring bunch of dudes. Like, you know, they're gung-ho, and they're enthusiastic, and they've got, like, an energy about them, and it's just, like, it's really satisfying to see these kinds of things get, you know, their time in the spotlight.
Yeah, they get, you know, they all get a chance to kind of you can have conversations with them, and you know, some of them have like little running stories that you can pick up just by reading their NPC dialogue, and you know, like, that's awesome. Like, it's really, there's a lot of little stories in this game that kind of help flesh it out, like little NPC stories if you keep talking to the same characters over the course of the game. They just kind of help it feel more alive, and I really like that. I mean, the game, for all of its dungeon flaws, the towns themselves are really good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, it has like 2 or 3 pretty fucking solid JRPG towns. It has Logris, it has Isolt, and it has Taliesin, that are all really interesting and unique looking towns.
Taliesin is like a town almost on par with Dahngrest, where I'm just like, oh, this is a really cool place.
It's like, it's definitely like you want to live there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's JRPG Town's coolness factor is entirely based upon how badly do you want to live there. And when you first get to Taliesin, and it's bright blue skies, it's built into the side of a cliff, it has the cool, like, pulley system to carry things around, it's covered in cats, which is awesome. And you see all of these things, and you're like, I want to live here. Like, that is the metric for a good-ass JRPG town. And so yeah, like, you know, Berseria has that. It has a bunch of good-ass JRPG towns. Like, fuck yeah, good for it.
There's just, like, there's a whole lot of this game's lore, like, this game's just world in general that are really cool, and, like, the whole idea of, like, level 4 islands.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, like, it's such a cool bit of world building that they have these places that are like, it really does feel so much like a straight up, like, an actual adventure in this game.
I do wish, my only problem with the Class 4 islands is that I wish they hadn't all just been arenas.
Yeah,
like,
I wish they would, like,
been more
like dungeon, like, you know, small dungeons that you would fight an enemy at the end at.
Yeah, or like, you know, like, if they had just been arenas, I wish the arenas themselves had been more unique instead of just a giant slab of concrete, that kind of thing. To kind of get across the fact that these are dangerous islands instead of just, you know, islands with big slabs of concrete on them. But as, like, a concept, they're really cool, and just, you know, little things like that. And
like, hearing the stories behind them, like, where you'd, like, talk to a guy, and he'd be like, oh, there's this island that's full of slime monsters, and my ship got stuck in the goo, and... you know,
for sure.
And it's like, oh, that's really cool.
That's awesome. And I'm such a sucker. God, I'm predictable, and I hate how predictable I am. But whatever. I'm such a sucker for prequels, really taking advantage of the fact that they are prequels. Like I said, when I found Lady Lake outside of a ball, and I sent you a text message, like, out with your friends or something, I'm like, I found Lady Lake. That was awesome. Like, those moments when the game is like, CC, we're a prequel.
And I mentioned this to you before, and, like, I guess it would have been hard to kind of market it as such. But, like, I think this game would have been, like, incredible if that, like, they didn't, like, you didn't know it was a prequel until, like, the end of Act 1.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, but again, the Eisen problem.
Yeah, they would have to dance around the Eisen problem at the very least. Like, they'd have to, like, either give him a different name for the time being, or, like, hide his face behind, like, a mask in his character design or something.
Yeah, because, like, pretty much as soon as they announced, like, literally, like, when the Famitsu scan came out with, like, Eisen in it, everybody was like, this is a fucking prequel, holy shit!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if like, he had done, like, a, you know, a Masked or something like that, and then
even just a different name, because nobody knew what, like, you don't ever actually see Eisen in Zestiria, like, him as a person.
Yeah.
So, like, even if he had just called himself the Reaper for the first act or something
like
that,
and then, you know, I think either getting it, like, if you call him, if, like, the drop should have been, like, either you hear his name as Eisen, or that's when they bust out the you know, Artorias, now known as the Shepherd.
The Shepherd. Yeah, although even then, even knowing it was a Zesty prequel, the Shepherd, like, reveal was so punchy, because, like, I didn't realize we were getting the story of the first shepherd and the first Lord of Calamity.
that was like such a huge hit, because like I didn't realize, like, yeah, we knew it was a prequel, but we didn't know like how much of the first, like, in what regards
how much of a prequel it was.
Yeah, because like we've had this more with Symphonia and Fantasia. Yeah, I always get Fantasia and Legendia mixed up. Like,
it's okay.
But yeah, Symphonia and Fantasia, where it's like, yeah, they're prequels, but like, aside from the tree itself, like, the plots don't really tie together that much. It's just a story set in the same world, you know, just 1,000 years earlier.
4,000.
Yeah, 4,000. Whereas in the shift between Zestiria and Berseria is like, you know it's a prequel. Okay, so it's a prequel. We get it. This is a previous story in this thing. We're going to learn about they're called Malachim instead of Seraph, blah, blah, blah. And then you get that line, and it's, even me, who, like, even if you barely know anything about the games, like, if you just read, like, a basic synopsis of what this is, like, Shepherd gets thrown around really early in Zestiria. Yeah. Like, Sara being the Shepherd is something that, like, you know, even, I think pretty much if you read the back of the box, you know that he's the Shepherd.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because, yeah, the description of the game is that he's a shepherd.
Yeah, so, like, even then, so, like, your fight, like, then it kind of hits you like, oh god, I'm fighting against the hero of the previous game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so it was such a good moment. It was like a major I had a major flip out, because like I knew it was a prequel. I knew we were getting backstory on the world. I knew we'd probably see some similar locations and stuff like that. I didn't realize that we were getting the story of the first Shepherd and the first Lord of Calamity. Especially when they started calling Velvet the Lord of Calamity. I was just like, oh my god, we're here. This is what we're doing. Oh my god. Like, we're actually doing this right now. Okay, that's cool. And it was so, the reveal was really well handled. To have Artorias in front of basically like a crowd of just adoring thousands, and you're like, they're like, they call him, our shepherd, and as soon as they drop the word, you know what kind of story you're in now. You're like, oh, this isn't just a prequel, this is a real fucking prequel that lets you know how things got to be the way they are in Zestiria. Like, I thought it would just be like another Symphonia to Fantasia thing where it's like, well, they're just kind of set in the same universe.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realize we were getting a major explanation for why Zestiria is the way it is. And then again, the Laphicet becoming Maltellus thing, you don't know about that.
But I can parse that it is a very significant event.
It is probably, for Zestiria's plot, it's the most significant thing to know who Maltellus is. Or to know where Maltellus came from. It's just like, it's so mind-blowing. It's so cool.
That will happen in one manner or another. I will experience the story of Zestiria if I have to drag myself through it.
Yeah, and the anime, tragically, is not a good substitute. We had this conversation the other day. It's just not. But we'll talk about that in another podcast.
Yeah.
It's just, Berseria is really fucking good.
Berseria is a really, really, really good game, and I'm very happy that Tales is back after 2 misses.
Like 2 pretty big misses.
Yeah. It gives me a lot. The fact that Berseria is really good gives me a lot more encouragement over Tales of Switchia.
Yeah.
As I'm going to call it until it gets an actual title.
That's awesome, though. Tales of Switchia. That's so good. They'll probably call it that, considering Nintendo's love of gimmicky-ass titles. That's so good. But yeah, like, I have so much more I want to say about Berseria. I just feel like I could talk about it for like 6 more hours. Because it's just, there's so much going on. There's so much to parse. The side characters are good. The main cast, we didn't even get into. I mean, we talked about how fucking awesome Laphicet is. But don't worry, we'll talk about more about how fucking awesome Laphicet is. I just love it. I do.
It's just it's great that it's back. And
it's so solid, you know?
it's a game that I'm like already like thinking about replaying, and if I didn't have a lot of other crap on my plate right now,
oh my god,
I would dive right back into it. But like, God, it feels good to have a Tales game and enjoy it again.
That's so like that doesn't feel like homework to play.
Yeah, and it's so different and so unique. There really isn't a Tales game like it, and
yeah.
There's so much that I want them to carry over into the next one, and so much that I want them to keep changing the way they've been doing.
Yeah, and I appreciate. I mean, I just really appreciate the messing with the formula, the kind of.
I appreciate that they're willing to actually go out and be like, okay, well, you know what, we're overhauling it.
Yeah. And we're gonna, play, messing with the character, like the cast dynamics, the having a bunch of grown-ups instead of a bunch of fucking children, the playing as the bad guy, the new battle system, doing all of these little things, going back to the idea of mini-games when they kind of stripped them out in the last few games. Just stuff like that is awesome, because it feels so much like they understand, again, kind of what makes a good Tales game. And then, yeah, of course, I mean, we talked about it a lot in this video. There's a lot of missteps, but it has a lot of good
the missteps feel like, since it's such a marked improvement over Berseria, I'm more willing to count these missteps as, part of the experimentation process of trying to crack the formula.
For sure. I mean, like, absolutely. Even with its missteps, it doesn't make it a bad game. It still makes it a really great game. I dig it. I'm so glad that Tales is, like, super back, and more than anything, like, this makes me more excited for another title more than anything,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
After X2 was such a disaster for me, and after Berseria was such a disaster for Namdai, I knew I was gonna like Berseria. I kind of just had a feeling, but I was a little apprehensive. I was like, if this is another X2 and Berseria, like, am I gonna buy another Tales game? Am I gonna keep fooling with it?
Yeah, you would wonder, like, well, is it not only is this the end of the franchise, but is this the end of the franchise for me?
Yeah, like, is it kind of like, if Berseria had been kind of the same as Berseria, it's kind of like, I probably wouldn't. Like, I'd probably be done with the franchise, because I just kind of, it's like Final Fantasy 13 turned me off of Final Fantasy so powerfully that, I never went back. And I love Final Fantasy.
You know what? It really is like a 3 strikes you're out situation in that regard.
For sure.
Where, like, yeah, so, like, I'm like relieved.
Yeah, for sure. Because I want to keep enjoying Tales games.
Yeah.
I want to play these games when I'm 40, and I want them to still be good. I want them to keep being good. But if Berseria had been bad, I probably would have stepped away from the franchise until I heard the next game. I've been like, I probably won't get it,
Yeah, until you heard the absolute consensus that, no, this is the one. Yeah, you would have dropped out, like, almost entirely,
sure.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to me to see that Berseria is considered overwhelmingly positive on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
That means it has like a 90% approval rating or more. That's amazing. Like, good for Namdai to finally really hit one out of the park.
Yeah.
In a really substantial way. I'm just really glad.
I'm proud of you, Namdai. You did it again.
I'm proud of you, Namdai, and like you said, when they thank the fans in the credits, you're like, aw, guys, gosh.
No, well, like, it's a universal thing, and it's such a cheap way to do it. But every time you see the, special thanks, blah, 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 all of our friends and family, these companies, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Every time you see, and you're just like, aww.
Because, like, I feel, especially for these little niche JRPG titles, like, every purchase. I mean, yeah, Final Fantasy is the best-selling game in the franchise. Good for 15. Good for fucking it. But these little niche titles, like every single copy sold is vital, you know, to making sure another one happens. And Berseria has sold pretty well, apparently.
Yeah.
So, you know, good. That means good things.
That means they'll keep doing it.
It means we keep getting more. And so, like, you know, like you feel like, oh, you bought the game when it came out, so you actually did. I mean, you actually did help, unlike, you know, Final Fantasy and its 7-8 million copies sold or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. I'm just glad. I'm glad Berseria is good. I guess that's the end of what I'm trying to say. Is that I'm just really happy. So yeah, Berseria is fucking awesome. That's what I'm saying, guys.
Yeah. So next week we'll do character breakdowns.
Yes, are you fucking ready for us to scream for 2 hours about how fucking good this cast is?
So what we'll do is we'll do 1 hour of each party member, and then we'll do another whole hour of how great Laphicet is.
Yeah, and then we'll do another podcast about how good all of the side characters who aren't like the little ones are, which means we'll talk a lot about how great Zavid is. So be ready for that. Yeah, we're gonna have 4 podcasts about Berseria alone. Because it's so good.
And then eventually we'll put a cork in Zestiria.
Hey,
and then
I'm
we'll go
putting a cork in Zestiria. You need to put a cork in Zestiria. Yeah. There's no we in this shit, buddy.
Yep. Okay. I need to get on that, but that'll happen when it happens.
Right, when we get time.
I've got Horizon Zero Dawn. I've got Breath of the Wild. I've got all the Kingdom Hearts that are coming out again.
So many video
We've
games.
still got Resident Evil 7.
Oops.
Which, you know, that's also one of those that'll happen when it happens. And then, quite soon, we've got Persona 5.
Oh, God. Are you ready to have your life... I mean, like, I've had my life eaten by Berseria, in a pretty substantial way, and I don't think, I do not think it's even the tip of the iceberg compared to the way P5 is probably going to nuke my life, you know? Yeah, it's about to get ugly. And then, Final Fantasy 12 comes back out. Whoops. Shit. Why are so many video games coming out? Fuck.
Well, fortunately, like, after April, like... It's pretty much, Prey at the first week, but that's also not really a priority game. But
it's not like a huge priority, but I'm
like,
really
fortunately,
hoping Prey is good.
Yeah, we're gonna hit the Summer Games drought, and that's going to be like a huge relief to us.
God, I've never been happy for a Summer Games drought before, but I'm like, I have so much in my backlog right now, people. So yeah. Yeah, for sure. We'll still talk about Berseria next week, and then we'll fucking... I don't know what we'll fucking do.
We'll work it out, and then We'll
work it out.
Yep. So thanks to Visitor for use of our background music. He's great as always. I have his link to his work in the description of the actual podcast, because now we're on Libsyn, so everything's all organized under one category now.
Yay!
So if you want to email us, we're still at thegorgepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to tweet at us, if you want to tell us about how great Berseria is and how you want more pirate JRPGs, you can...
Or if you just want to talk to Ben about comics.
Yeah, you can tweet us there. That reminds me, I have an idea in the works. I want to make like a tentative partial announcement. It's something I'm going to try to get organized as quickly as possible. If anyone wants to help me with that, that'd be great. I do need the help. The world sucks right now.
Yeah, it's not great.
We're in a crappy place, guys, and we need help, and we need heroes. So, I am going to try to organize what I'm going to call the Gorge Super Stream, where I am going to play superhero games on stream, either good ones or bad ones. And if you want to donate, all of the money that I receive from these streams will go to the ACLU. All of it, 100%. Well, we'll try to work out a way so that Sara can join me, but streaming is hard for us since we haven't done it at all.
And,
but
you know, we are tragically separated by several states.
Yeah, so this is all in like the early planning stages. So there's nothing. I have no dates or anything yet, but now that I've announced it, I have to do it.
Yeah, you do.
So we
have a bunch of garbage video games to play those, so get fucking hype. So,
yeah. I'm going to work on that. If anyone wants to help me get the stream set up, or if anyone wants to help us get like layout for Twitch, or help us, even set up an account to donate straight to the ACLU instead of having to go through PayPal, just to ensure that we won't pocket any of it. So. Mm-hmm. But that's going to happen. So if you have any help with that, you can email us or tweet us at the Gorge Podcast. Sarah, tell us about your other show.
Hey, I'm in another show. It's called Big Gay Nerds, and that's exactly what it is. It's me and a bunch of other big gay nerds in an LGBT... Bleh. I thought I was going to get that out right. Fuck.
Try again.
An LGBT podcast where we sit around and play tabletop games. We just finished up D&D, and we'll probably go back to Monster Hearts soon.
Yeah,
so you should check it out.
Monster Hearts cool.
Thanks. Monster Hearts is so much fun. Oh my god. And we've really been enjoying D&D 5th edition. So you should totally come listen to it. Because we are just the biggest fucking losers ever, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, we just hit 1,000 listens on SoundCloud. So
yay! Good job.
Yay! I know, we're all really excited about that. So you should come listen to us. We are on SoundCloud. You can Google us. We have a Tumblr now. It's biggaynerds.tumblr.com, I think. We'll link to it at the Libsyn and on Twitter and all that good shit. So yeah. Is that it?
I think that will do it. Fuck Artorias.
Fuck Artorias. And Innominat, that little murder Shota bitch.
Yes, fuck Innominat as well.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.